Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Commission Breath. Brandon Love here with Tom Moffat. We're recording this March 20th, first day of spring. And I feel like that movie Van Wilder with the sick boy, because Tom's got a little bit of a cough. He's being a bit of a pussy, but I'm forcing him to come on and record with me. So, Tom, thanks for making the effort today.
We all know I keep you accountable. This was a time slot that I put in the calendar. Let's get real, pal.
Yeah, this is true. Well, today being the first day of spring, we really wanted to just dial things in and talk about the steps you can take in spring right now to have a year defining couple months. So, those of us who have been in the industry for a while know that these next 3 months are typically the busiest we see throughout the full year. So, if you're set up for success, you can really capitalize on that and make your nut for the year. If you're not, or you're not in the right headspace, you can miss this opportunity. And all of a sudden the summer arrives and you're not in the place you want to be.
Yeah, it's a great time to start reviewing how things are going in Q1. And that's going to be a good place to reset if things aren't going too well for you. And if it's going well, then double down and have even a better year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it starts with being honest with yourself. And a lot of the time we're not, or a lot of the time we talk to realtor partners or other industry partners and we sugarcoat things and we say, yeah, it's going really well. I'm really busy. I'm having great success. But internally you're like, fuck, I'm not making as much money as I did 2 years ago. And I've gotten used to living on that high on the hog and I'm actually struggling. So you need to be transparent and honest with yourself first.
Yeah, I was actually very transparent with a couple of realtors last week, and we connected over that because two of them, like randomly, they called and asked kind of the same question. Like they wanted to get a pulse on like how the market is because they know that we work all over Ontario. And I was just telling them like straight up like what we're seeing. I even said to the one of them, I was like, yeah, my purchase leads are actually down from last year, but luckily my renewal and refi leads are up. So like things are good for me that way. But from a purchase perspective, like, yeah, it's down. And I'm sure you might be feeling the same. And she's like, oh yeah, like, she kind of went into it. So I like the point that you should be a bit vulnerable, honest, and not always try to make it seem like everything's perfect on your end.
Yeah, you don't need to fake it. I think that's a big mistake everyone makes. You don't want to be a complainer. We've talked about that before, but you don't need to be like everything's amazing if you're feeling shitty. I think that's important to be forthcoming that way. I think our culture has a lot of this, like if you ask someone how they're doing, they're going to say good. That's literally the response you're going to get. Hey, how's it going? I'm good. I'm doing well. Everyone's going to give you that. No one kind of goes a step further. And we talk a lot about building these relationships with referral partners and with clients, that kind of thing. And sometimes showing the other side of the coin and being a bit more vulnerable does lead to building a better relationship. Now, you don't want to be like overly vulnerable because then you're just like the weeping willow kind of person. It can go too far. There's a very fine line. So just tread cautiously with that. We're going to shed no tears on this podcast, but I might cry once. I might cry when I have my first drink. No, I'm just kidding.
I gotta cry for you.
So I was watching me slowly struggle here. I'm doing really good.
I saw you twitch last night when we had a couple beers on our side.
We met a team for pints last night and I had to watch the three other guys have pints and I'm just like sipping a non-alcoholic beer. They're pretty good. I actually can't knock them, but it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not. Let's get back on target here. So have you done a review yet for Q1 or is this like are you in the planning stages of like what you're going to review?
Yeah, I'm still in the planning stages. Funny enough, we always record this podcast. I don't always go back and listen to episodes. I've been going back and listening to our episodes more because sometimes we share things that we're working on, but then like we have a guest like Ryan Wiley last week and he adds a layer to it. And then I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea when we're recording. But then I don't always remember to go back and listen to it again. And so I went back and I listened to that episode and I pulled some things out of there. So I did a review on my side, which will come out in kind of like the mini series, Break Bread to Make Bread. But I'm doing a lot of booking for that belly to belly stuff. So I'm following up with partners. I'm setting meetings to go for lunch and drinks and dinners and that kind of stuff because I realized that I had gone too far in the pendulum where I had implemented a bunch of systems for follow-up and systems for content creation and all the system stuff that you taught me, Tom, had been implemented in my business, which was really helpful on one end. But in that process, I had lost some of the organic lead generation stuff that I naturally just used to do. So I'm going back to my roots and making that more of a part of my business.
Yeah, that episode will come out Thursday, so 2 days from now. Excited to listen back to that too, because I'm actually doing the same thing in my business where I wasn't always a big proponent of that. I know that was a big part of your business and it never was for mine. I want it to be. Like I want to go a bit deeper with some of the relationships. Like some of these realtor partners that I have, I actually haven't met them in person. I'm going to do a couple texts right now, get some lunches coordinated.
Yeah, I think for quite a while, because of the pandemic, it was so easy to just do everything online and no one expected that. But prior to that, there was an expectation that you would meet this person in the flesh. Then we went away from it. And now it's going back where everyone's super digital on everything, but people are sick of it. Like no one wants to jump on a Zoom call. They want to meet someone in person. And we're recognizing that for our lead generation for the business, but also just like talking about it on things like we want to do some events for Commission Breath, like book at a brewery and just have like a mix and mingle for brokers. So if we think that sounds like fun. If that's something that sounds like fun to you, let us know because we'll go ahead and do it. But I think there's like a yearning for in-person interaction more. You're seeing that with like running clubs getting super popular and like outside of like the bar scene, like they're meeting at like cafes and like doing different things in person more and trying to get to that space versus like joining another online community. It's just changing.
Especially the online community stuff, man. Like it's becoming so oversaturated that people are tapping out from it. But I still think like there's a place for that type of thing with like webinars and all that stuff. Like it still works. But yeah, I'm excited to get into more of the in-person stuff too, because I'm feeling it lately just being in the office every day and not really getting out too much, with young kids. So that's something I definitely want to get more into. So that's like the biggest thing for my Q1 review is to go deeper and not as much wider as I normally do.
Yeah, I think the big one is just to step out from behind the screen. We're going to meet some people, we're going to shake some hands, we're going to kiss some babies. And that's going to be big just for our business, but also for our mindset and just for how happy we feel working in the business. So that's a big one for me. Going from there, we've also noticed now that we have Kyle, we have a lot more time and we were trying to optimize how to deploy this time so that it leads to growth across the whole business, not to just more free time for us to go and do activities. So Tom, you've been a big proponent of something that I think you can dive into that we're implementing right now.
I mean, it comes down to systems, baby, specifically batching. I wanted us to do a bit more batching of content and recording. So like today, for example, we were going to do more than one video. Like we carved out 2 hours here to do probably 2 to 3 videos or episodes for Commissioner Breath. But I mean, I sound like a friggin' idiot over here. So we're going to do one. But going forward, what we're going to do is we're going to carve out time each week where we're going to sit down, we're going to batch it. And that way you're in that headspace and you don't have to flip flop from one thing to another. And it's a lot easier getting more done when you do carve out that batching time. So that's one of them is for Commission Breath and possibly our YouTube channel, which we haven't talked about yet. And another one is my regular content. I'm doing a minimum of 3 to 4 videos a week right now for short form. And now that we have the time, like it's actually being pretty easy to stay consistent with it. And I like to do all the batching in one. Like I could get it done in probably about an hour and a half to record the videos. So yeah, that's another one that I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, I think the batching really will help for the podcast recording and content creation side because it's also like set up the camera, you set up the mic, you set up your whole desk and everything. Like you're just like mind is locked into that task versus like, you bang out an episode and then we got to set up again. Or like sometimes we're doing different activities and we're like, oh shit, we have to record. So it just creates a better system around the workflow that way. And I think the quality will also improve. Hopefully, you guys will be the determination on that if it improves or if we go too far on not having fresh stuff. We'll find that out and adapt and change as we go there. That's what I like about doing these kind of like seasonal reviews is there's no like financial line in the sand right now. It's literally the change of the season that I don't even know who determines this, but it's a good time to just take that snapshot of our business, pick the weak points, and then pick what we're strong at and figure out how to go forward that way. And a lot of what that has to be for us currently is time management. We're both hard workers. We're both always working, but it's just a matter of making sure we're doing the right work now. And for a period there, I think we kind of got lost in doing a bunch of different work because we had the brokering side, but then we had the brokerage and we were trying to figure out what's the best course to have both things stay on target. But it caused a lot of flip-flopping of like, okay, I'm working on X, but then something comes up with the brokerage and I jump to that. But it's very like two different hats. It's two different ways of thinking and viewing things. Whereas now, like doing this batching and time segmenting and blocking on different things is allowing us to really dial in and stay focused there.
I guess another component or layer to that too is leveraging what you're currently doing. I don't know how to really word this properly, but to give you an example, like the training we're doing with Tango, we do daily training, so Monday to Friday, and we're bound to have some good content in there that we can repurpose for the Commission Breath podcast. So that's what we did. And I'm always looking for different opportunities that we can leverage what we're already doing. And that way we're saving ourselves time that way and not creating more tasks for us to do in the future. So I'm always looking for those opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. And I touched on this briefly, but one thing that I'm really noticing, I implemented this when Kyle started, so like 2 weeks ago, I guess. I'm like hyper focused right now because I've done a few simple things. So like I have no email notifications on my phone right now. So I'm probably checked my email historically, maybe like once every 3 minutes, maybe more. It was like a really bad habit because a ping would come in and I would check. But I would be like working on something, I'd get distracted, or sometimes I'd be out with my family and something would come up and I'd feel like this urge to go deal with it. Whereas now I don't even get the notification. So I hop in there and then I batch my email responses. And I haven't noticed any complaints from anyone on like turnaround time. I'm still getting in there probably once an hour, but I feel so much better and so much more focused and like clear headed on the things I'm working on. And like I had these 4 like daunting tasks that I wrote down, and they've literally been on my list for, this is embarrassing to say, but like 2.5 months. And yesterday I got 2 or 4 of them done.
Can you share what they were?
Well, yeah, like one was a bunch of like lender forms. Sorry to those lenders who I didn't do them for so long. The other one was just like on my personal taxes. I had to like self audit some things that were on there. And now Friday we have taxes for another thing that we run, and we're going to get that done. So hopefully by like the end of this week, I'm going to have 75% of that list done. And that's in 1 week. So really getting focused in on these big things, removing the distraction, separating the signal from the noise is changing my business. And like, I feel like springy today. I know you don't like my puns.
I like your pun, just not in titles.
I got an extra pep in my step. I got all dressed up nice and walked my daughter to school today, and the dads were like, "What's going on with you? You got like some mojo." And I'm feeling good. Well, it's like I'll get sick tomorrow, but I'm feeling good today.
That's okay. When you get sick, I'll start feeling good, and then we can do that yin and yang.
Yeah, totally. Picking those couple big things to focus on, it's a great time to do it right now because I'm probably not alone in feeling re-energized right now. I think a lot of Canadians, we get like a seasonal depression type thing from the gray, cloudy, cold weather. And then you see the sun again and you're like, holy fuck, I feel incredible now. So capitalize on those days where you feel incredible. And we had beers with that group last night. And one of the guys was like, I've got this business like 15 to 20 million, but I haven't done any database mining. I haven't done any prospecting. I haven't done anything. Like my whole business is just like being liked by a couple of realtors. And he's like, I think if I implement all this stuff, like it's going to dramatically change my business. And both Tom and I were like, 100% yes, it will. But these are also like 3 systems you could put in place in 1 week of focused work and you're done. And then you're just maintenance mode of like sending out that weekly email, doing your follow-up, that kind of stuff. Like these aren't huge tweaks that need to be changed. You're not rebuilding your entire life or your entire business. You're just focusing on those couple gaps you have and dedicating the right amount of time to fixing them.
Yeah, like you can set that up in a morning, even if it was something simple like VIP Club and Breaking Bank, which are now like kind of one system now. That is something that someone else does for you. So you can get that set up, have someone else build the banner, all of that stuff there, and you don't even have to touch it. And sure, you could argue doing your own type of content or database marketing is a bit more effective, but that's better than nothing. You have that going out on autopilot and you will see results from that itself. One thing that I'm doing that is helping me free up some headspace as well and not be so like bogged down with my phone is I'm just simply leaving it in another room like multiple times a day. Like it sounds so silly and simple, but like mentally not having my phone with me during times of the day is very freeing. I know it sounds silly, but
I think it's actually like psychologically proven that if you can do that, it's way more mentally healthy. You're an animal for being able to do that. I'm definitely not at that point yet. I would feel naked.
It's for short stints during the day, but at night, from like once I get the kids down, I leave it upstairs for hours until I go to bed. Like I have no problem doing that. The other thing I stopped doing was in my free time, whether I'm doing like chores around the house, like doing dishes or working out, I would always listen to like some sort of like educational thing, whether it's YouTube, podcasts. I was always consuming. I feel like it was like burning me out a little bit doing that because I was just learning so much, which is good. But then I'm like, man, I'm just gonna like cut all that out and just focus on a boring business and not even worry about any other stuff that I'm missing out on.
Yeah, there was training I did a while ago, and I forget who it was, but he was like, you want to become a creator, not a consumer. And so often, like, your brain tricks itself into feeling like you accomplished a lot because you listen to this podcast or you listen to another business podcast and you feel like, okay, I'm doing good things for my business. But like all that learning has to be implemented. And if you're not freeing up the time to actually sit and think about how can I implement that step into my business, you haven't actually done anything. You've just listened to something while you've done something else. If you're listening to this podcast, like you could say, hey, I know I need to implement these two things. Turn the podcast off and go do those two things. That would be a win from this episode.
If it's on YouTube, watch the whole thing because you're going to ruin the algorithm for us.
Fuck the algorithm. I don't care.
Actually, yeah, you know what? Commissioner Breath on YouTube, there is no hope for us going viral on there. So
Yeah, we do have people reach out that do action things. And I'd rather like hear and see more of that than like have some stupid algorithm like us.
oh, well, this audience is the most niche audience in the world. Maybe not in the world, but you know what I mean? Like Canadian mortgage brokers, it is not any more niche than that. So you're not going to build a big YouTube business. But yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
That was my $1 million business plan, bro. So that's gone.
It's deflated your dreams.
Yeah, I wanted that silver play button.
Well, we might be getting it with CWG. Never know.
We always toss around. You guys know this. We had a YouTube channel. Fuck, it was like Invested Entrepreneur. Then it was Canadian Mortgage Guide. Its current iteration is Canadian Wealth Guide. We're like, should we do it? Because we do still get leads from it. And we're like, fuck, should we do it? Should we not do it? It's one of those things we're like mulling around and we're like cautious not to put another layer on right now. But also we have this time. So we're trying to figure out those activities that yield like 10x results. So we're thinking maybe this is one of them.
We're going back and forth every day. I still think like at some point we are going to pursue it, but I think we're just treading lightly to make sure that we are fully dedicated to spending the time on it. You know, if we've got Nikki doing it, it's not too much time. You're looking at maybe like an hour. And I say an hour, like it does take a bit of time to outline a YouTube episode. But I think like if we were to explore it, it would be more of like a video podcast style than what we were doing before, where it was like a straight up talking head YouTube, which is a lot more prep and planning. So our idea and kind of outline of what we wanted the channel to be is how it sounds, Canadian Wealth Guy. We want the channel to be somewhere that a Canadian can go to help them build wealth as a Canadian, because it's harder than ever to build wealth in this country. And that's kind of our angle there. And we sprinkle in the odd like advanced mortgage strategy video. And that's our call to action for them to book a call to perform like a debt swap or maybe cash damming, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a ton of potential for it if it can be done properly and consistently. And the biggest thing is consistency. We did it for maybe a year.
Probably a bit less than a year, but it was a good stint.
We learned so much about like different lighting and different mics and camera and like shit like that along the way that has helped us across the board. But we pulled the plug because we were like, we're not seeing enough that like the cost of running these channels, it is expensive actually to run a podcast with an editor and everything. So the cost of it eventually crept up. We're like, it was one of those things we sacrificed because we thought our focus should be elsewhere as well on the brokerage side. But then we're realizing part of building a brokerage is just like literally what we share on this podcast, we share like 10x more with our agents. And we realize that that's actually something that's helping grow our brokerage. So it's been kind of this weird discovery period for us where we killed things because we thought we had to. And then we're bringing them back because we realized it actually contributed more to our overall goals and also the kind of business we wanted to build. It's something that you just have to figure out what you're actually passionate about and what you can actually take on.
Yeah, it's nice from an experience perspective too. Like if we can build out this monster thing with the YouTube channel, like there's not many people in the industry doing that. And I think if we can transfer the knowledge that we've gained from doing that to our agents, I think that in itself is worth it. Like you look at all of these other channels that are mortgage brokers or realtors in Canada, and it's all like news based, like headline, catchy titles, clickbait kind of stuff. And some of it's good content, like they're educating Canadians on the market and real estate news, but you get a lot of like negative type of content doing that. And a lot of people like consuming it. We see ourselves as like creating this content that people can look at as like inspiration to better themselves to build wealth. And we were kind of passionate in it too. So
yeah, we tried the other way of like doing news and stuff, and like Tom and I would both get on and be like, man, I fucking
I
hate
can't stand
the
it.
news. I don't even have the news on like my computer or my phone. I wouldn't know 95% of the things that go on in the world if people didn't talk about it,
Yeah.
which I like it that way. It allows me just to like stay in my own lane and stay happy that way. So then having to like create content around the news, I've despised it. So now if we come back, we're coming back our way. We're not going to do anything to try to like get some level of virality because it's relevant to the news. It's just like, whatever, we're going to create content that's going to make people wealthier and be helpful. Part of our learning brought us back to realizing that that's where we should have actually just stayed.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of like full circle, but in a way, like we know what to take in and take out, and we're a bit more patient with things and not just diving in. We kind of take a step back and think, okay, should we take the time to invest in this? Let's maybe like test it out a little bit and see how it goes, but let's not go all in right away. That's the same thing with cash damming. We could talk about that, how that was kind of on our radar with our last webinar that we just pulled off.
Yeah, I think we're getting a little older and wiser with what we do. We still have that like raging bull kind of mentality of like we hear an idea and then we're both just like go. And then now we're kind of like, whoa, like, okay, back up before you run into the electric fence. Like maybe it's time to like analyze this a little bit more. So we're getting better and better at that as the months go on and we see more opportunities. We have a great upside because we get to do this podcast, chat with people. There's always chats before and after where we get insights into what other people are doing. People share a lot with us on the back end. So we get to benefit from what other people are trying, where they're succeeding, where they're failing, and know what's going into it. So we can talk to someone who's really successful in cash damming and be like, how much capacity do you actually need to take this on? And they're very transparent with us. So that allows us to make informed decisions. Whereas before, like, and still to a certain extent, we would just be like, okay, we're going to do it. And it didn't matter if it fucking ruined our family lives or everything else that was going on in our business. You know, we were able to do that cash damming webinar, which was like an info session.
For realtors, by the way. Like it was like an info session for realtors.
We're going to see through the presentation, but we might just stop it there. We're on the fence about whether or not we do it. Like day to day, we're having an evolving conversation around it. We want to look at all opportunities and pick what's best for our business going forward. And I think that's really pertinent to what we're talking about today. Like there are so many opportunities. There's so many different training. There's so many different things that you can learn, but you need to pick and you need to commit. Don't flip flop. And for far too long, we flip flopped and we saw people flip flop left, right, and center. So now we are dialed in.
Yeah, and cash damming in and of itself is like a whole different business, man. Like it's insane the amount of like extra steps that you have to do for a client. The flip side to that is like it's very low hanging fruit to get the leads in. You know who your avatar is. It's anyone that owns a rental property and a primary residence in Canada. Like it's super simple to pitch it that way and you don't have to do the mortgage. You can charge consulting fees on it. Like that's why I like it. We went back and forth on this yesterday. We're like 50-50 on it. I think you're maybe leaning more towards like you like it a bit more than I do because you do see the potential in it. So do I. And even having that conversation with that broker you just mentioned, the answer to that question, by the way, when we asked him how many files or how many cash jamming clients do you think you can do a month, his answer was 30. So I thought it was going to be like 5. And keep in mind, he's got a full team, like support team to do underwriting, compliance, everything else. But even that, I was like, oh, the hand holding with the client, I would maybe cap at 5 to 10. But the fact that he's in it and he thinks he can do 30 a month, that was pretty attractive to me. So we'll see.
It's tough, right? Because there's always the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And he's saying 30, but like, you don't know if he's fucking miserable.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you don't always have those insights into things, which makes it a challenge, right? I think that so much of life you have to learn through experience. but then you also can gather as much data points from people. Someone might say, this fucking sucks. This is terrible.
Which I've heard.
And then partly by doing it, we know like when we were doing the webinar, we were like, this fucking sucks. Like, we don't like this format. But then whatever.
You had the realtor reach out to you after.
We got a really good response. They asked me to like come pitch it in person. I said no because I'm a dick.
Well, no, just because like we're like we don't know we want to do it.
Yeah. And we had the revelation that we should do more like belly to belly stuff. But then, anyways, it ended up with being that they're like, okay, just host the webinar and I'm going to get like a bunch of pizza and beer and have like a viewing party for my clients. And I'm like, fuck, okay, that's like a great idea. And that's got a ton of reach. It's something different and cool. And we could do this with a bunch of different topics. So I'm like, fuck, it's very cool to be in the position where we actually have time to explore some of these things.
Yeah, I think like the worst case scenario is that we find out, okay, you know what, cash jamming isn't for us, which I think we're leaning towards that way, but you'll never know. And, we do the webinar, we get some experience doing the webinar setup and getting some more eyeballs. And at the end of the day, when the realtors are attracted to this kind of stuff, like they're going to send you the other business as well. And that was my main intention by having us do the cash jamming webinar, because it is to just strengthen the relationship with the realtors. And I think it'd be great if we just had like maybe a go-to person to pass off any cash jamming leads that come our way. But then the flip side to that is that you don't really get to keep that client, and it's not as sticky with the realtor. So it's a really hard thing to juggle.
All right. Yeah. So we went on a bit of a tangent there with cash jamming, and we'll chat more about that in the future because, as you can tell, we are still mulling over where to go with that. But I think the key takeaways today for us is that we looked at our business as a whole and we figured out what we're actually passionate about and what makes us feel invested and invigorated in our mortgage business. We're critical with ourselves and found where we had some weaknesses or where we had shortcomings, that things we've just forgotten to do as with the passage of time. So we're bringing back those activities and we're exploring some new activities that make us feel like we're moving forward with the business. So we're trying to steer clear of shiny objects as best we can and stay really focused and stay granular and know those couple things we have to do. So that's part of that, is bringing in the time blocking, no emails, less phone, better systems that way. And then we have an eye on the future with implementing a few things that hopefully will bloom come summer.
And if you haven't given us a review, what are you waiting for? Come on, give these guys a nice 5-star review, whether you're on Spotify, podcast, whatever platform you're listening on. Give us a review. What are you waiting for?
Yeah, that would be greatly appreciated. And also let us know if you want to come to those events. So cheers, everyone.